The gold recipe comes from the Essenes and the Egyptians, and they were giving it to their children in early brain development where they were developing with more light. So they had much higher IQs. They were a totally different consciousness. So through antiquity, it's absolutely been used for that purpose.
Did you find this in some ancient religious text? I mean, was it in like an abacus somewhere, or how did you even come across this information? Like, that's fascinating to me. Hieroglyphics on a wall in Egypt. I mean,
all of that.
All of it?
All of that. So
give us the skinny.
So there's literally, my phone's over there. I've had the hieroglyph for mana on my phone for the last decade.
All right, it's on the screen right now, the hieroglyph.
We're
putting it on the screen.
And the pyramid of it, or the triangle, is showing like a high angle of repose, showing that it's like pointing to a very high frequency. So it's a combination of going through temples in Egypt. It's a combination of sleeping at the Dead Sea and being exposed to a lot of the information from the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Sacred text, meditation, again, learning things from the elements, spending time sitting with masters that are currently alive at the moment, that have activated their light body, that have been taking the gold for 10 years, and they have a charge now within their cellular biology where they're immune from disease. And so, it's a combination.
So I'd love to actually try this if you guys are open. This is the first time I've ever tried this.
We should do it. And even though you say it doesn't seem like there's much more in there, I'll just give you an example of how much is in there from a nano gold perspective. So there's 5 milligrams of 24 karat nano gold in every sachet. And as far as particles, that actually translates to 10 to the power of 13 nanometer size gold particles in every sachet, which is trillions and trillions of nano gold particles in 24 karat form that can all be tested in laboratory.
All right. So
it's a
many
lot.
zeros.
Many zeros.
It's a lot.
Many zeros up in there.
And it almost comes back to what we're saying about that mind. The mind really wants to come in and start playing too. Like it wants to have a finite answer. And it's really interesting because we spend a lot of time over the years on this specific product, and it's like the mind will always play its part, and knowing that that's always going to happen. And it's almost like that advocate. I like the way that you put that. The advocate's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's by beautiful design too. That has to be.
It's a protector.
Yeah, because if we sit in biases all the time, like, we'll just be spinning on our own axes all the time. So, I love those questions because, we sit in the space with the gold a lot and do a lot of R&D on ourselves more so than anything else. So it's great that you get to try it here with us. It's awesome.
Yeah. This is the first time. 10 plus years in the making.
Yes.
This moment, y'all. Okay.
I love how you just take it straight out of the sachet.
I can feel the electricity in that thing. I can. It's salt of the earth. It's literally salt of the earth. I love that my teeth make little marks in the gold. It's so cool. And I'm sure you guys have seen this, but my friend Johnny, who we're gonna have dinner with tonight, he told me if you squeeze it like this, you can get a little more out.
Johnny is very right.
The whole sachet.
Yeah.
Wow, dietary gold. I don't know if I've ever heard that phrase, dietary gold. I mean, look, we've seen the unconscious version of this where you go to Vegas and a hamburger is covered in a gold flake, right? That is not what we're talking about, y'all. This is a totally different part of gold. One thing I've always loved about you guys is your generosity. Earlier, you shared that, there's really no such thing as competition in this space. The thing that I've even on Zoom calls you've mentioned. Yeah, if somebody takes what we're doing and they amplify it, good. Because then we're just bringing more light to people. And I think that is so rare. I mean, gold is very rare. Silver is very rare. This way of being, very rare. I wonder where that comes from inside of you. Is it heart? Is it an awareness? Is it a combination of the two? Because most people in business, they're like, I'm going to get IP. I'm going to hold it within. Nobody's going to copy me. I make people sign, NDAs, blah, blah, blah. It's just not the conversation with you guys. It's just not even part of the convo. So where does that tether? So if the gift is you stewarding, where does it tether to? There's something that it tethers to.
I'm laughing and Dave's laughing at the same time. There's two sides to this. Is if someone can physically go and do what we did,
yeah,
and that Genesis story and that hero's journey to get the product, and then physically and manufacturing and producing the product, and what we've gone through to get that sachet into your mouth, like I would applaud them.
More power to them.
Yeah, totally. and it's like, but there's also like, because Shilajit and fulvic acid and humic acid have been around for a long time, and the accessibility to them, it's greater, and there's a bigger market for them now. I think it's great because that means that everyone's getting an upregulation of humic and fulvic acid. That's awesome. The more people turned on is great. Yeah. It doesn't help, like, selfishly from a business point of view. No one's taking from us because it's infinite in its supply, first of all. And if we think in a competition space, like, it doesn't allow for more things to flow in for us. As we're always in that space of, daily improvements on everything that we do. And if we just focus in on that, we can offer the best that we can. And someone else comes along and does something, copies it and does it better. That's incredible, because that's evolution at its best. And we laugh, like, when people, sometimes we work with contractors, and sometimes with some internal sectors, it's like, oh, you have to do this under IP and do this. And we just start laughing and we go, why? Like, why? And it's an important thing that we've got to hold. And it's interesting, us moving through that space now more in those lot of leadership spaces, and that sort of questioning ourselves from a leadership point of view. But, stewardship and leadership is the same thing for me with this. So yeah, competition is another thing. Is that as soon as that word gets mentioned, it's almost like a lower vibration, and it's in that lower space where we've come from. And I don't think that's the path that we need to go on.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so powerful. You had to move the mic.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, legit powerful. Before we switched on the recording, we were chatting, and I said, have you heard of, John Mackey, the author of Conscious Capitalism? I feel like there's this old adage of unconscious capitalism that's dismembering and decaying. It's kind of burning to the ground, which I think is a good thing. But we have influencers and leaders out there that will literally say things like, I'm here to crush the competition. And it's like, yeah, when I hear that, it's low vibe, but it's more than low vibe. I actually think it's harmful. I don't think that we should be trying to kill or maim or crush our competition, because they have children and they're a soul just like us. So I think that's just completely the wrong type of thinking and speaking. And, I'll ask you the same, like, it's tethered to something. So you articulated that really well. So well that the mic shook and the table shook. But for you, the tether is very deeply spiritual. Like, I remember the first call we ever had, I felt like you were looking into my fucking soul. Like, you don't blink a lot. You have a piercing presence. So there's something in you that I don't even know, by the way, if you've even thought about this, but this is how deep I like to go, because connected to that tether is some type of divine wisdom, some type of maybe even unexplainable wisdom inside of you. How might you, maybe not perfectly or imperfectly perfect, how might you explain that, what this leadership is tethered to for you?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's an obsession in creating the best product. And I'll give you 4 examples of something in this product. I mean, I don't even think about competition. We don't have a business plan. We don't have like a competitor analysis or anything like that. Back to Brad's point, I feel like we've put so much love and attention into this product. And the 4 examples I'll give you. So our ocean plasma is produced over 3 years. Our Ormus is produced using a resonant vortex device that I built with my hands. Our flavoring in here, chai, is made by an Ayurvedic professor of 50 years that does it by hand over 10 weeks. And then the Nano Gold that's in here, I mean, we just added $330,000 worth of gold by hand into this production run last Thursday. So if anybody else has that level of love or that level of intuition to be able to find out specifics to those formulas and has that guidance, they absolutely deserve to create the absolute best product that they can and share that with the world and see what the feedback is. And because we're so passionate about what's in this, the more people that share these sacred nutrients and frequencies with the planet, honestly, the better. We can't service everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can only access so many people, and we're going to touch such a small amount of people with what we can supply.
Even hundreds of millions, best case, right? Hundreds of millions would be great, but there's 9 million lives on the planet, or
Totally.
9 billion lives on the planet.
Yeah, and we've been super guided by the elements and spent a lot of time in meditation. And it's my understanding that these kind of nutrients are going to come a lot more abundant. And to be honest with you, Josh, like if thousands of companies started selling ocean plasma and Ormus and Shilajit and Nano Gold tomorrow, it would be such a beautiful sign to me of the time that we're in, and that truth is piercing through, that nothing more would light me up on the planet right now, because I'd be like, wow, a lot of this fear and suffering and separation would just be dissolving so much faster. So the quicker we can get to that space, the better.
Kind of makes me want to cry. I mean, just the level of depth of love that you're speaking about. It's so beautiful. And I've said this many times on the podcast, like I could not give two shits about being famous. I don't care about being famous. I don't need fame. I just want to be as well known as I can to continue my mission.
Yes.
That's it. That's what this table, this wisdom table, that's what we want. Can we get this? So share this right now, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, because this can truly change someone's life. Figuratively, emotionally, spiritually, all the ways, because the building blocks of who we are. And so if we've had those blocks taken out, unfortunately, mindlessly by modernity, I think a lot of these building blocks have been removed. Maybe even conspiratorially, you would say they've been removed on purpose, which is a whole nother podcast. The only answer to any of this is more love. And
Yes.
it's easy to say that. It's very challenging at times because of the soup that we're in to actually apply that and to live that and be that. And I wonder too, this next phase that you're both stepping into, and myself being a part of it, you know, in full transparency, like I'm a partner because I love this and I believe in this and I take this. It's part of my family. I haven't given it to my children yet, by the way, because I didn't know. I wanted to wait till this podcast to ask, is gold safe for children? Is the product line safe for children? Is it maybe a smaller dose? Like, how do you make sense of that for parents? That's the next generation of beings that will have better building blocks. If you like that clip, click the one that's on the screen now, and I promise you, you'll enjoy it just the same, if not more.